Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your reading. I just want to warn you about my allergies. I put some eye drops in, but they're still like the sniffles. It's just at some point you buy Claritin, you just you do what you gotta do, and it still doesn't work. So just warning you about that. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into this chart. So let me first make sure that the last name is hidden. And 1 second. Okay. So where is it? Okay, here it is. It's like Mercury retrograde right now on my computer. I swear. Okay. Okay, finally, here it is. Here it is. All right, Andrea. V. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and get the aspect grid. And let's share the screen. Okay, so interesting chart here. We got a Taurus rising with Chiron rising. And, a nice little Pisces moon. Lots of Neptune energy in this chart. We got Pisces moon square Neptune. So that will be the main, not the main topic, but definitely something that we discuss in detail because it's a very important part of this whole chart. Sun in Cap, conjunct Black Moon Lilith. And then you also have that Venus on your midheaven in Aquarius. Very interesting. Sniffles. Another Mars in Libra. I swear it's like not like I literally just had one. I feel like it's like every reading I get is Mars in Libra. At least they decide on me. It's very indecisive, typically. Like it's a reputation for Mars in Libra, so I guess they're deciding on me, which is good, right? Got a lot of stuff going on in the 6th house. All right. So the first question is how does Capricorn Sun work with Pisces Moon? Very, very obvious. How do these two, what is this internal marriage? How does this internal marriage work between this over here and this over here? Well, first of all, we have to note that in terms of major aspects, the Sun is only square Mars, and the Moon is square Neptune. That's the biggest aspect. Let's see if there's anything else big. Okay, Mercury square Pluto. That's huge. Where's Mercury? It's okay, so it's far away from your Sun, which is actually good in this case. And then you have, okay, that's not bad. Any Mars? No, nothing bad with Mars. An aspect of Mars, actually. So, yeah. Okay, so Sun and Moon. The two most important points in a chart. I will show my face again, and we'll go back and forth between the chart. So sun and moon, Capricorn sun, right? And I don't really like to go so far deep into sun signs. I mean, I just feel like it's, what's the point? I expect most of my clients to have some knowledge of their sun sign. I mean, it's the only thing that mainstream astrology or classical mainstream astrology really gives credence to. You are your sun sign, right? So I expect people like you to know about what Capricorn is. But what's really interesting about you is I was just telling a new client, Capricorn client, that a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I did like a little mini study of all of the clients I've ever had and that had Capricorn suns. And I saw that like literally like 80 or 90% of them, something like that, like a huge percentage of them were Capricorn suns that had a conjunction of their sun with Neptune. If it wasn't Neptune, it was Uranus. And there's only like a small percentage that were like you, that just Capricorn with no outer planet conjunction. So a real Capricorn, which is very, very rare, or at least in my practice. Not to say that Capricorn isn't a spiritual energy, right? I mean, it's ambitious, and when it's in the 9th house like yours, right, that makes it gives it kind of like a flavor of Sagittarius in the sense that 9th house is the Sagittarius house, where it really wants to find meaning. It really wants to find truth. So it might try on, especially being a female. It's such a difference. It's such a difference. Like I was just talking about this in my last reading, how certain placements work so much easier for females. And just in general, like my point in saying that, besides like Capricorn, it's not necessarily working easier with a girl or a guy, but at least for being open-minded enough to kind of enter into spirituality. But the real reason that you are interested in spirituality, astrology, whatever it is your Pisces moon. Now, Pisces moon is the ultimate double-edged sword in the sense that it gives you this unstoppable empathy, compassion, ability to see through, or see past the deception, to really tap into this is what happened. I was just scratching my eyes and they turned red. But to tap into the collective unconscious, and to really understand like the pulse of the world. When you're in a room, you have this ability to feel other people's energy, like really, really, really feel it, and not everyone has this. And Pisces moon, sometimes they can have a very difficult time seeing themselves objectively, right? Which can lead to self-esteem issues. The moon ultimately rules like where we live within ourselves. It's like our internal environment, right? So in Pisces, and it represents like what makes us feel secure, what makes us feel happy. So when you have it in Pisces, you tend to feel very comfortable in your imaginary world. I'm a Pisces sun myself, right? And it's very important for Pisces moon people to understand that they're going to have more of a need for alone time, even with a strong sun sign like Capricorn, which is very firm on boundaries. It's interesting because like your sun is like literally the sign that's like the best with boundaries. It's ruled by Saturn, which rules boundaries, physical, and even like just the process of creating boundaries with people, right? Capricorns thrive there. It's one of the reasons why Capricorns are so successful, why they have that reputation, is because they can almost be, I don't use the word cutthroat, but they can be very, very determined and good at kind of separating themselves from distractions. Noticing, okay, this is what's like standing in the way of me and my goal, and I'm gonna like kind of let it go, right? Now, with that said, I see you as a very ambitious person, although you might have a career in the arts. A lot of people that have Venus on their midheaven, not necessarily that, but I've noticed that they tend to have like if not a career in the arts, which obviously it's hard. They're seen by the masses. You can even say like on social media, by people that don't really know them, like as this very creative, large aura, flowy, attractive person. And it's a very strong Venus placement. But back to the sun, the fact that like I was talking about Capricorn, how it's all about perseverance. It's all about just like, I always think of it going up a mountain and just like never giving up after it gets hit by an avalanche and rocks falling down the hill, and it just keeps going, So in 1 second, hold up really quick. Actually, I need to double check something with your birth, because why did it just say Charleston? Charleston's in North Carolina. I mean, South Carolina. Let's just make sure that I have that my computer didn't do anything screwed up. So coordinates. Okay, it is correct. Perfect. So yeah, so Capricorn, so the fact that you have Black Moon Lilith conjunct your sun, that could actually speak a little bit to your interest in astrology, because it is a very witch energy. It makes someone really, the fact that it's conjunct your sun, which is like your ego. Usually Black Moon Lilith, I talk about it, is a part of the chart where it's like the part that we kind of like when we're at our worst, when we're at our lowest like energy, like it's kind of what takes over. But when it's conjunct your sun, it speaks to this potential, right? Because it's just a potential, almost working in a way where it has a link to your sense of self, if that makes sense. I'm gonna sip my coffee as I ponder this. So, in Capricorn, I think of Black Moon Lilith as like independently as the negative part of it is that it can be so ambitious that it's to a fault, where it might be willing to like walk over other people. And if that doesn't resonate, don't worry, it's just a potential, right? But really, when it's conjunct the sun, it can make someone feel somewhat like an outcast, right? And it makes someone really want to like establish a focus and a deep bond with their roots. And it can make someone kind of react like a bit impulsively, like because Black Moon Lilith is very, very instinctual. So when opposed, there can be this very instinctual kind of like raw reaction, right? Also, you know, it's associated with a very confident sense of what's right and what's wrong, and trying to steer yourself into that righteous direction, especially in Capricorn, which is a sign that at the highest energy of Capricorn is honor. I think of like MLK, right? So besides that, there can be some real, like, you know, rebellious, countercultural type energy. And also there's lots of sexuality associated with Black Lilith, right? So raw sexuality can play a big role within that within the being, you know. Some people talk about it being like the suppressed feminine. So you know, I think of it as being very transformational as well. I think of it as being very powerful in the sense that, like, your voice is heard, acknowledged. You know, you might be someone who's like the poster child for like a certain cause, fighting for the underdog. Really, really good leadership. I keep scratching here. See how weird these friggin' allergies are. And yeah, that's kind of how I would look at that conjunction. But there can definitely be a level to it where there can where the ego can somehow feel like exiled, right, from the rest of from the self, right? Or even like as a female having this energy, you can feel kind of pushed around by the male elitist patriarchal system, right? And because of that, it creates the person who wants to be different, who wants to lead things in a different way. They're very in touch with like the way that the feminine has been repressed, and they're leaders in that sense. So, you know, it can create, you know, an outcast, right? You know, someone who kind of is a little bit like a Capricorn. Can also, you know, it can be Capricorns can kind of you know, they can be kind of solo people anyways, not all the time. They can be hermits. But yeah, usually this kind of person like prefers to work for themselves. They're very individualistic. And yeah, I think that's kind of like everything I can say about that, right? Like really, really close to the spirit world. It's like it's a big link to magic. That's why I feel like that witch energy. And yeah, there can be this very like unique like sexuality, or like kind of brand of sexuality. So yeah. So that's kind of the sun, you know, in the ninth house, and all of this Capricorn energy, it's geared and it's being pushed towards trying to figure out its place in the world, right? Trying to figure out its place, like who it is, like what, like, you know, where you come from, where you're going, like where we come from, where we are going. Like the deeper questions to life, like universal truth is of great importance to someone that has their sun in the ninth house, right? So traveling, whether it's traveling to different cultures and experiencing, you know, people with a different worldview, with a different cultural mindset, with a different, you know, way of seeing the world, that's massive for someone with a ninth house sun. I don't care what sign it's in, right? And to have, you know, the South Node and Mercury there too, with the South Node conjunct Mercury, which I prefer to get into that a little bit later. But just, you know, sneak peek, it's kind of like channeling your thoughts and your perceptions into that realm as well, of really trying to build upon knowledge and knowledge and knowledge and wisdom and wisdom and wisdom and all that. So how does this work with Pisces? Well, it actually works very well. There's a sextile, meaning there is 60 degrees or 2 signs, more like it. I think more elemental when it comes to, you know, sun and moon. You know, they're both feminine signs, Capricorn and Pisces. And you know, they can both be quite hermity. I think that they can work together because on one end you've got this like very deep imagination, right? Like the Pisces moon is the most imaginative moon sign. Has the ability to just understand deep insights into the esoteric and the occult and different kind of taboo subject matters. My nose is like dripping. But at the same time, it's also very intuitive. As I said before, it can sense people's energies so well, right? But there's issues with boundaries. That's like the thing that, like, sometimes the moon, and this is what I was saying before, the moon in Pisces can attract energy vampire type people to it. So that's when your Capricorn sun, which can be needs to be cutthroat, like in a good way, in the sense that like it's not letting people in who don't deserve to be let in. I think this is a very good combo. Actually, my favorite artist, Armin van Buuren, DJ, he has this exact same thing. Like at least just the sun and the moon. So I see for him, you know, I know him very well, like how it gives him this like unbelievable work ethic, this unbelievable like because Capricorns, they want to really feel like they're like, it's leadership, you know, they really want to feel like they're doing something of value that really helps people, that, you know, not helps people in the sense of like the humanitarian. They want to build something, you know, it's like building the skyscrapers, either metaphorically or physically. But then the Pisces side gives him this like amazing imagination and ability to create just like unbelievable music, and they mix well together, you know. And the reason is because the Capricorn side is the doer, right? It's the doer, it's the hard worker. And then the Pisces sign is the dreamer. So imagine if you had like sun and moon in Pisces, you wouldn't get anything done, right? But to have, you know, both of these here is very powerful. Or not both of these, to have, you know, to have the Capricorn sun and the Pisces moon. A sip of water real quick. So boundaries. Curious. So you do have a follow-up. Yeah, so we'll definitely have to talk about like that and how that shows up in your life. So then how does your Taurus rising with Chiron rising, what does that add to this whole thing, right? What does that add to this whole thing? Well, you know, it's an earth sign, so of course it's gonna side very well with the Capricorn, and it's actually trining your Mercury like perfectly, like literally exact degree. And you know, Taurus rising people, that makes your chart ruled by Venus, which you have on an angle midheaven, which is a very strong placement. And basically, Taurus rising, they are very practical the way they approach their day-to-day life. You You know, they're not the biggest risk takers. That's why, you know, with this kind of combination, you kind of have to like push yourself to take risks and to take healthy risks. But yeah, like Taurus rising, like they tend to really live life through the senses, right? And you know, they prefer to be more comfortable before they enter a situation. Sometimes they can like depend on other people to take the initiative, but overall, you know, having a chart ruled by Venus is going to give this real, it's like this stone, it's green, it's Venus, right? It's like it's like a energy I feel. It's very Venusian. And it's just like it attracts people to you. You know, it attracts people to you. Of course, Taurus risings can also, you know, like to overindulge in things, like in the senses, whether it's like food, whether it's you know, alcohol. I mean, those are some of the bad ones, but also it can make someone very, very like consistent with their, like if they're doing yoga or if they're doing like hiking or gardening. I don't know. I can go on and on, right? Because it's a fixed time. So there's a real fixity of purpose, right? And lots of self-reliance, lots of independence, and lots of structure and stability and reliability are the cornerstones of the life of the person with the Taurus rising. So it's very, very, you know, it links very, very well with that, actually with everything, because it's also, you know, sextiling it's actually exact sextiling your moon. So you have you have like a I don't know what this aspect pattern is called, but basically, there's a very strong alliance between your big three. They're all kind of on the same team. It's you have one ship, three captains that are all with their different steering wheels, all going the same way, right? A similar way. So I know I dropped this, but I caught it. Yeah, so it's very practical. It's also very, very, very security based. The Taurus ascendant. So it can be very slow in terms, like it doesn't like to be hurried. It likes to take things chill, easy. Likes to work with its hands. And it can be very, very slow when it commits to like a certain course of action. But the really great thing about Taurus rising is, and especially being a Capricorn, is that there's real staying power. Like when you set your mind to something, you can just like continue over the long haul, right? While, you know, people with other configurations might become bored or might, you know, not be able to keep it going, might lose the passion. Like someone with a lot of fire, for example, might just like, wow, this is like crazy how many charts I've had in a row that lack fire. It's like insane. This has got, I mean, I'm not counting, but this has got to be like at least 4 or 5. And you have earth, water, yeah, air, everything besides fire. It's crazy, like in terms of the inner planets, because like it doesn't stop. And is Chiron gonna be in a fire sign? No, it's an earth sign. But yeah, so there's a real fixity of purpose once you figure out the plan. That can be the issue. So when there's a lack of fire, as there is in this chart, and as there was in the last chart, and the last chart, and the last chart, I get these synchronicities all the time. There is, yeah, sometimes someone who lacks fire needs a kick in the butt just to get started. But once they're started on whatever that mission is, whether it's let's say graduate school or a certain profession, you know, or where they're trying to get somewhere, they have this real staying power and this real ability to, like, I always like kind of describe it as like being the same person day after day, but it sounds very like sociopathic when I say it like that. But like, let me explain it like this. People, like, it gives you it gives you a groundedness and a balance that you might take for granted within yourself, but trust me, so many people lack that, that ability to, you know, you're obviously going to have variations, especially with your emotional state, with being a Pisces moon. But generally speaking, you know, you can have a lot going on within yourself, and this probably really resonates what I'm about to say. Like you can have a lot of like ups and downs, like mood swings, like emotions within, but on the outside, you're really able to keep it together, right? So you might be like freaking out within yourself, but externally, the Capricorn and just like having a Taurus rising, you know, it would definitely favor you in like any kind of job situation, any kind of career, any kind of like anything where you're really trying to build yourself up. You would feel very, very favored, or it would be you'd be very, very favored. Like, so yeah, it's interesting, like, because the Pisces moon is kind of this hidden part of you, right? It's like this more hidden mystical part, and then you have that Jupiter and Scorpio, which is also kind of about that too. But I would be curious to know in your life, like if there's people who, you know, like how astrology, or you know, how like spirituality in general, like if it's something new or if it's something that you've always been into. If there's people in your life that you don't tell it about, or like talk about it to talk to, like, you know, talk to these people. I can't speak English right now. You know, talk to certain people about it, or they just have no idea. Like because the moon can be very hidden. The moon in Pisces can be very hidden. But yeah, so that's kind of how those three interact very well. And you know, I think the moon in Pisces just gives like a softness and a sensitivity to these earth placements. So yeah, definitely like a very feminine energy. When you have Chiron rising, however, Chiron has to do with the wounded healer. So Chiron, I'm not gonna sit here and say that everyone that has Chiron rising has like a sad face, but their main healing archetype has to do with their own body, with their own sense of self, their own identity. You know, early in life there can be like some sort of like identity crisis that pushes them into, you know, potentially becoming a healer, like some form of like a healer, whether it's a psychotherapist or a massage therapist, whatever it is, you know. Because you know, you do have an in Taurus a yoga teacher, which rules the body, right? So it could be something somatic. But yeah, usually like for like this kind of thing, this kind of connection with the ascendant is like when you're younger, when you try to express your essential being, there's like some level of rejection. And yeah, so it can be tough. And then with Taurus, Chiron, you know, of course, on your ascendant, that can make you have this like crisis of values. Because one thing that Taurus is very good at, it's very good at having values and holding strong to them, right? So it has its values and it doesn't really deviate. They're very, very solid, and you know, typically like very loyal, very hard to corrupt from, you know, from that perspective. But when Chiron, which represents, like I said, your spiritual pain, we all have a Chiron placement, is in Taurus, there can be a lack of self-worth, especially early in life, right? Which sometimes people will overcompensate with, you know, Taurus is about money also. So that's another thing that's about Taurus rising too, is that it can make someone really like luxury, like nice things and stuff of that matter. It doesn't mean you're materialistic. It just means that, you know, Taurus rules Venus. So you'll attract abundance, right? But you know, with the Chiron here, there's this big hurdle that has to get passed in order for that real you know, high Taurus Venusian energy to be manifested externally. And there can be, you know, a distrust of the body. That's why I think like yoga would be like amazing for a chart like yours. And yeah, like learning to like really trust your own body, and learn to like listen to your body, understand your body, take cues from your body, love your own body. These are the kinds of lessons with this placement. And then what happens is that you're able to carry that around with you, carry around the fact that that's what you've conquered that within yourself. And what happens from that point on is that people look up to you as someone that's a healer. They gravitate to you as someone that can help. And maybe it becomes your profession. I mean, speaking of profession, we have the Venus in Aquarius on the midheaven. I have a friend who has this, and what's her Venus in? I can't figure it out. I think it's in Sag. Yeah, I can't remember, but regardless, no, it's not in Sag. It's in Scorpio, I think. Okay, whatever, who cares? The whole point is that when you have Venus on the midheaven on an angle, it becomes very strong, and it's also your chart ruler. So there is big time potential for you being an artist, or someone who, at the very least, attracts a level of beauty in their career, in their dharma, their overall like big picture. Like, this is what I do for like I don't like using the word career with midheaven, because it can be so many other things. It could be their spiritual journey, just what you're doing on like a big picture, big world level, right? So, so it makes this Venus, which we have the same Venus, by the way. That may have been a unconscious reason you were attracted to me as an astrologer, right? Because we value the same things. My Venus is 12 degrees Aquarius, yours is 8 degrees Aquarius. And mine's on the midheaven, but it's still the same Venus. So, but the fact that it's a chart ruler and that's on an angle is massive. And it becomes, on the level in your chart of sun and moon. Like, it becomes so massive, your Venus, because it's a chart ruler and conjunct the midheaven. And what does that mean? Well, you really have to understand what Venus and Aquarius means, right? And we have to backtrack a little bit after this too, and go more and go into that moon square Neptune, because I've been holding off on that one, but we're gonna get there. And then also, Mercury square Pluto. So who better to know what Venus and Aquarius is all about than someone with Venus and Aquarius, also Mars there. So let's start with Venus and Aquarius from an artistic standpoint, because Venus is a lot of stuff, right? So artistically, Venus and Aquarius, they like what's new. They like I love electronic music. You might not like electronic music, but that's an example, because Aquarius has to do with technology, right? Venus and Aquarius loves humanitarianism. And it's not really artistic, but like it loves futurism, inventions, right? Anything that's different, anything that breaks the mold of the tradition, that's what the Venus and Aquarius person will gravitate towards. So then when you think of Venus as like love language, but also love being a mirror, and the reality of Venus, and not every astrologer will tell you this, but this is the real root of Venus, is what we value in ourselves, because what we value in ourselves ultimately becomes what we value in other, right? So Venus and Aquarius, they value their own eccentricity, their own uniqueness, their own ability to kind of beat to the beat of their own drum. You know, they're the water bearers. They're the one that took that take the road less traveled. And man, in love, they need a ton of space, a ton of freedom. You know, they can literally be allergic to cleanliness, Venus and Aquarius, right? When it comes to relationships, no matter what, you know, your Mars is in Libra. I get it. You know, your moon's in Pisces. These are more kind of close energies. So that's going to push some of that away compared to me, who has both of them in Aquarius and moon in Sag. But, you know, overall, what's going to happen here is that you're going to be very attracted to eccentric types of people who who have really developed in themselves their own sense of I don't give a fuck individuality, right? They've developed this sense of like they're very nonconformist, you know, and you respect that, you value that, and they give you. You'll be attracted to people who give tons of freedom within relationships, because you're going to need a lot of freedom, and you're also going to be very unconventional. Like examples might be like, you know, requiring like time away from your significant other to revamp the relationship. You guys have been around each other too much. Sleeping in your own bed. Lots of Venus and Aquariuses do that. Like having your own space. Like basically, like Venus and Aquarius in no way don't want to have relationships. That's not it at all. But they want in no way to be a part of a relationship. And they can be the most giving, like they can be amazing partners, right? It's just that, and they really, really love when their individuality and their uniqueness and kind of their genius too, because they tend to see the world differently. When that's valued by you know, their partner, that's when they really, really give. But if they get like kind of tugged on and do this, do that, be like this, be like that, it's like literally the start of the end. You know, more than any other Venus sign, it's the start of the end when the individual starts to the partner starts to kind of try to mold them, because their goal within a relationship, remember, is to still grow as an individual, which leads me to my next point, which is very interesting, which is that Mars in Libra. So I just explained, you know, what having Venus in Aquarius is and how it's a super mega important part of your chart. And I want to also add the fact that, just re-add the fact that it's conjunct your midheaven, how that makes everything I just explained implicated into your career, into how you're expressed on a public level. So then there's Mars in Libra. This I just had it's another one of these, you know, charts where there's no fire and the person has Mars in Libra. It's unbelievable. This has happened my whole career as an astrologer, where I just have these like repeated themes and back to back to back charts. And I like literally end up explaining like the same thing like 5 times in a row. Maybe that's the point of it. Maybe that's the synchronicity. Who knows? Mars in Libra is so fucking indecisive. They can't make up their damn mind, and they really, really need to find a value system that they can subscribe to, right? So the Capricorn helps this, right? Because Capricorn is very decisive. Capricorn is like the sign that knows where it's going, it knows how it's going to get there, it knows the steps to take, and nothing's going to get in its way. Now, and with Black Moon Lilith conjunct your sun, it's like, you know, you have to watch out for being a little bit too cutthroat in getting to the top, right? Sniffles go away. It's getting better. Every time I think about it, it comes back though. So yeah, with Mars and Libra, that's completely different. So Mars and Venus are very implicated in relationships and in love language. And so I explained that Venus part of you. Well, the Mars part is opposite. I mean, it's an air sign, so they have a beautiful trine. So you think, okay, it's similar energies are both air, but it's not opposite. It's just very different in its the way that it expresses itself, because Libra in relationships can be very, very much codependent. You know, you do only have your Mars there. I mean, yeah, you have your Saturn, your Pluto, but those are outer planets. It is in the 6th house. So, you know, the trine of Venus and Mars, it can definitely, you know, create an energy that is, you know, smooth flowing, like very like affectionate in love, lots of warmth, you know, where you're easily able to express affection, passionate, very romantic energy, right? So actually, you know, in this sense, like the fact that it's trining, exact trining your Venus, it's very good. But just the one thing with having these two indicators, which is Pisces moon and Mars in Libra, is that you have to watch out for people pleasing, and you have to watch out for the boundaries thing, which, you know, hopefully the fact that you have the Capricorn really helps with that. But you know, Mars and Libra, like I just said, you know, they will struggle with making decisions, and also they will struggle with disappointing other people, and so will Pisces moons, right? So they can sometimes just like put other people above themselves, which is not good, right? It's not good because it shows a lack of self-respect, when really it's more about trying to have everything balanced in the environment, right? The Libra Mars person, they have this real push forward. That's what Mars is. It's your push forward, your assertiveness function. They have this real push forward towards kind of being not being balancing everything out in the environment, you know. So really, and they can feel really uncomfortable when that balance isn't there. So more like dominant energies sometimes can dominate, which is something I thought it wasn't a very good sentence. More dominant, like kind of headstrong energies can dominate, basically. Still a shitty sentence, but whatever, you get the point. So that's where the whole thing with boundaries comes in. But like I do think that I'm very curious how that works, like with the Capricorn Pisces, because Pisces moon, like it's very chameleon like, in the sense that like it can adapt really well to situations. It is a water moon, so when you have a water moon, you are very emotional, and you tend to feel the emotional impact of something like right when it happens. So water moons are criers, you know. It's very difficult for them to kind of repress. But with Pisces, what's interesting about Pisces is that, you know, they can be quite avoidant. They can be quite avoidant and not, you know, feel the emotions. And just instead of feeling the emotions, they can just say, you know what, I'm going to escape into my imaginary world of whatever, and that's that. So, you know, it's super important for Pisces moon people, whether they're artists, like, you know, you might be. I feel like I'm getting like a bunch of artists in a row. I don't look at anyone's Instagram, by the way, like until after. Like, I don't look at anything to cheat, so I have no idea. But yeah, like in this scenario, like it's important, like early on, you know, how are you exposed to art? You know, how are you, like what was your, did you, you know, get any piano lessons or guitar lessons or painting? Like how, like what was the early environment like in that respect? You know, were you encouraged to kind of like find a healthy escape, a healthy creative escape? Because that's, you know, what Pisces moon craves, right? And sometimes when they don't get that, they can turn to substances and more bad escapes. Because think about Pisces moon, it's an emotional need for heaven, an emotional need for this perfect realm where nothing bad happens. And they live in a world they're sensitive souls. You're a very sensitive soul. And, you know, living in a world where things are fucked up, it hurts them more than, you know, pretty much any other moon sign. And the moon's the most, in my opinion, the most important part of a natal chart. I mean, I would say it's like 51-49 moon to sun. The only reason I think it's more important is because it runs the show. It's like, you can't be happy. I mean, they're both important. It's kind of hard to pick one, but like, you know, with the moon, it's like, if you don't follow what your moon sign is asking you, you're not going to be happy. So as a Pisces moon, if you're not surrounded by people, if you're not in a relationship with someone, if you're not in an environment where you're able to like completely be in that healthy escape, in that like express your dream life, have your dream life be expressed within your everyday life, because you are super, super intuitive. This is shown in many parts of your chart. Like, you know, the fact that you have Neptune and Uranus in the 8th house. I mean, come on. Like, that's crazy. That's like really, really top energy when it comes to, where did my camera go? Thank God I'm not on mute. This happened earlier too. I hope that wasn't for so long. I'm gonna share the screen again. How does that happen? That's so weird. I literally just had a reading that I had to do earlier tonight, where I did it last night, or I guess, yeah, last night, and the last 40 minutes, I was somehow on mute. I'm having all these weird technology problems, and it sucks. So I had to like redo that, and I had to like kind of like, it's hard for me to remember like what I say in my reading. So it's like I had to like re-talk for like 40 minutes and hope that like I didn't miss anything, and the added stuff. It was just sucked. But anyways, good thing you were hearing me. That's the most important part. So back kind of showing you the chart. So we understand, you know, kind of what this is doing with this and this, you know, the Taurus, Pisces, and this, and then this is the Aquarius, Aquarius conjunct MC. We get that, and then we get that it's trining the Mars, but the fact that also that like within the love archetype, the love, like your love language, there's gonna be one part that's gonna be, that could be very rebellious if things get too clingy. But then there can be another part, and where's your Juno? Your Juno is in Sag. So yeah, like that's definitely teaming more with the with it's sextiling the Venus. So there's one part of you where your ideal partner, which is represented by Juno, is someone who you know, gives you a ton of freedom, who helps kind of help, like maybe is from a different nationality, different country, right? With, you know, which makes sense with the rest of your chart. And who helps you have a broader worldview, right? Very important for you. And gives you tons of freedom and space. But then on the flip side, being a Pisces moon, there's, you know, you're going to need someone who understands all your deep and complex and kind of changing emotions, right? You can't be with someone who's just like Sagittarius or Aquarius. That's not going to work. So they have to have, you know, if not a little bit of water in their chart. I sometimes feel like people that have like water, like moons, like they need, that it's like the biggest need for them in a relationship, to have that be understood. And there's just some like signs, and the sign can be over like done by an aspect. Like you can have, like, for example, a moon in Aquarius or Gemini, which I would say normally no, but in this case, if it was like conjunct Neptune, for example, then it would, you know, so there's tons of variations, but like basically, like, you know, there's definitely a need for that. Okay, let's go back to my face. Definitely a need for that, and by that I mean, you know, someone who can understand the deeper layers of you, the deeper layers and the multiple layers of who you are. and not judge you for it. That's super important. Also, I didn't really say this earlier about your moon in the 11th house. That is, about soul tribe. It's about, finding like-minded people and having a very emotional, like your friends or your family, having a very emotional connection with your friends, right? And yeah, friends and acquaintances play like a huge part in your life, and they can have like a positive and a negative influence. And also, moon has to do with ups and downs, so it can talk about like very changeable and maybe even unreliable friends. And you might have like very high expectations, which Pisces tends to do, about like what a friend does, and you might be where's your black and Lilith? Oh yes, you might be the kind of person that potentially has very, very high ideals, and of course because you feel emotions so deeply that you might feel let down by friends when they fail to match your level of dedication, right? Yeah, so it may, yeah. So yeah, there's really like this feeling of safety when you're with like the right group of friends, and it really fuels your soul, feeling very safe when you're like with warm and loving friends that can literally feel like family. And also you can really benefit in many ways from your large circle of friends and acquaintances. Usually this typically means that there's like someone who is very, who's popular, and Venus on the midheaven is very, very good for popularity. So yeah, they can help you like also financially. And like Venus in the 10th house, besides that, I'll get back to what I was saying before, it's like, even if you're not an artist, you're just gonna like have a very harmonious, like beauty will play a role in your professional life, everyday professional life, right? Like where you're somehow creating beauty in your career. And it can also make you be very perfectionist in your career. I need to add that part in there too. Also, one thing with Venus and Aquarius that I didn't really, they're not very touchy-feely, Venus and Aquarius. They enjoy talking more than like touch. Well, so like there's some signs that like are all about touch, very tactile. Venus and Aquarius, it's not really like that. It's more about ideas and connection of the mind is what's really important. So Mars, in Libra, as I said, many things about it. It's the need to find a value system that you just can attach to and base all your decisions off of. Like, what else can I say about that? I am not so sure. 1 second. And then it's unaspected, so that actually kind of gives more power to that Mars, right? Because it's very indecisive, but then there's no checks and balances, so it can kind of just go, which is very interesting. I'm very curious to hear how that works out, because maybe it could perform like it could act less like a Venus, a typical Mars in Libra, and be more decisive. The fact that it has no aspects besides, no major aspects. Saturn square the nodes and Pluto. Ooh, damn, Pluto and Saturn square the nodes. Okay, that's intense. I have that too. Pluto square the nodes. That has to do with past life trauma that you brought into this life. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, so as I was saying, Venus, square Neptune, or excuse me, Moon square Neptune, that is a very, very difficult placement, one of the more difficult ones in astrology, but you already are a Pisces, so it's going to make it a lot more easy than if you were like, I don't know, any other moon, Libra moon. It just makes you like even more sensitive, sympathetic than you already are. Moon square Neptune people, they tend to like it's very important the relationship they had with their mother, like if your mom was like victim mentality, like if it was like a very stressful time when you were like born and like in those formative years, like you'd be so, because you're so intuitive, you'd be so attached to her energy that there's a potential for basically like taking what's not yours, kind of like grabbing onto her like emotional baggage and claiming it for your own. And I've told this to so many people, and they often have a similar reaction where they're like, yeah, it wasn't until X age X or Y and Z that I realized this, that like I was hanging on to something that wasn't mine. It wasn't my pain. It wasn't my shame. It was my mom's. And yeah, that's always a huge part. So when I talk about alone time for Pisces moon, I want to times this by 30 because that's a big number. But times it by a big number when it's square Neptune, because you are so sensitive to subtle energies, which of course, like, doing work like I do, or being like a psychologist or an energy healer of any sort is an amazing asset, right? But when you're in this crazy fucking world, like in a subway in New York City or wherever you live or spend time, it can be really intense. So picking your environment of where you live is so important for you, right? And this is where some conflict comes in between Capricorn and Pisces, because Pisces would prefer a more calm, serene area, while Capricorn, its driven, ambitious nature might center it in a metropolis, for example, which could be very difficult for a Pisces moon. Of course, it's not a defeatist attitude we take to astrology here. Of course, there's tons of techniques and things you can learn to protect your energy. Yoga would be huge for you, as I've said. I continue. So yeah, nonverbal cues, you pick up on all of them. You can like literally like read people's minds. There's definitely like, whether you've woken them up or not, there's psychic abilities. And like I said, if your mother instilled any negativity in you, it will have greatly shaped your life, right? Sometimes with this, there's like abuse from the mother or the father, not always, like, or her playing like a victim in some way. And if the mother used any kind of like escapism, like whether drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever it is, it can be copied. So yeah, as an adult, just like when you're young, this typically creates like an avoidant attachment style, but not all the time, obviously. But I would say it's probably, like with the rest of your chart, you might be like an avoidant attachment style in psychology, that like you withdraw into your imaginary world. But like this is the thing though, like I'm an avoidant too, right? But like, at what point is it nature versus nurture? Because I feel like psychology paints a picture that your attachment style is all nurture, right? But astrology shows that we literally have archetypes. We literally have a Venus sign, a moon sign, that would make us more prone to having a certain attachment style, right? Like if you were a moon in Cancer, I don't know, like a Venus in Taurus, moon in Taurus, like, just an example, like you're probably not gonna be avoidant because you're gonna have a need for touch and closeness, right? So like I feel like astrology plays a huge role into it. That's why I always say that astrology is way ahead of psychology. They work great together, but at least for diagnosing, not maybe for the practical use. Still got some ways to go with the astrological counseling. But that's something that I do. I do professionally. I'm 2 master's degrees. I specialize in this. It's going to be my main thing. Become more and more. It's becoming more and more my main thing, working with clients. So if you're ever interested in astrological counseling, where we like use your chart and we basically create therapeutic goals based off of that. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel now. We'll have our follow up, and there's a lot of things. There's also the current astrology reading, which is typically the next step for people who are interested to do the natal chart, then the current astrology reading. And then if they really, really are benefiting and they're in need of some kind of, it's not even being of need. If they want to learn more about their charts and heal even deeper and understand everything at the highest level, that's when astrological counseling can come in and really, really help. So moving forward, like something I would do in astrological counseling is like I would spend like an entire session like talking about like one aspect like this, right? So yeah, I want to also say that healthier mother-child relationships could completely make this like not all go away, but can make this like way better. So basically what it's saying is like it was very, very important how you were with your mother when you were young. Mother, usually, sometimes it's the father. It's just the least dominant parent, the one who played the mother archetype, the nurturer. So what's key with this aspect? So even as a Pisces moon, it can be difficult to express your emotions with this aspect. So it's really important to voice your emotions, the throat chakra, right? To connect the heart to the throat and to speak your emotions. Showing your sensitive side in relationships, in groups, like friend groups, like in your chart. The reason to do that is because you don't want them to manifest as like the other side of Neptune, which is like kind of wrong imaginations, kind of false realities, paranoias, addictions, depressions, stuff like that, suspicions. So yeah, it's all about just like sharing your emotions, talking about your visions, your dreams, like maybe like having like a dream journal or just like a gratitude journal, like using your innate creativity, right, to get what's in out, art, right, in some type of way. And like also just like showing your sympathies to others will be very deeply appreciated because you are so deep and you have no idea how much you speaking about your own suffering can help other people because you are such a deep person and there's a connection to the collective unconscious. So yeah, like when you have moon square Neptune, like if you share your suffering, like people will listen, right? And then that openness will kind of make you not need to like it'll push you away from like playing the victim, in the sense that you become more of a dreamer, a storyteller, and you're transmuting the energy, right? And it becomes art, it becomes beauty. And then with that, you can overcome any of that shyness, right? Pisces moon can be quite shy. This can create quite shy. And it's with the image. So every time, it says so many readings in a row, that Neptune rules mirrors and cameras, screens, the stage. So if you practice showing off in front of your mirror, or your webcam, your cell phone, whatever, of course, privacy is important. Like you have to show anyone this stuff. It literally like fixes the energy. I've had clients in the last few weeks who have done this and who have like told me like, hey, this like actually is working. So affirmations also. Okay, moving forward. So we got past that. And then I do believe that you do have a positive karma with your mother, just because your moon is trine your node. So even if she went through some, difficulty potentially, I do believe that there is a real karmic love, karmic bond, because I see a trine there, and that's usually what that means. The square. So I'm very curious, and when we were follow up, you have to remind me about, the fact of what I just said, the fact that there's a square between the moon. I want to know about that square between the moon and Neptune, what resonated, what didn't, and then like that north node complete trine with the moon. Sun square Mars, that just speaks to like a potential impulsivity, but your Mars is in Libra, so Mars and Libra people don't get it takes a lot for them to like really get pissed. I mean, I think you're a very peaceful person, and yeah, like Taurus had that slow anger, but like Libra, they just never want to disrupt like what's going on, like the flow, like and you don't really have like the fire in your chart. Not to say you're a pushover, but like Mars square Sun would be more effective if you had like your Mars and like, I don't know, any other sign in Libra. But what it can do though is it can internalize this real competitiveness. So you can have like maybe like channel this energy into like some like kind of like physical athletic competitiveness. So Mercury, moving on, Mercury, it is in we talked about it earlier in Capricorn. Usually people have Mercury in Capricorn are not like believing astrology, so congrats. It is conjunct your south node. It's a very logical based placement. It tends to like be more traditional when it comes to how it thinks. Very wise and careful thinker, very good at planning things. And yeah, placing lots of importance on credibility and authority. And they can really like be very cautious when they approach new ideas, so I'm very curious about that with you and like things like astrology. But and then there's also squares, 2 squares with Saturn, just had this, and Pluto. So the one that's closest is, actually they're both kind of like I guess Saturn's 1 degree closer, but it's kind of right in the middle of both of them. It's also square the vertex. So, what I would take from that is that basically, you probably had some issues with communication at a young age, where you felt as though like there's probably like some real shyness, some real like difficulty in expressing your truth, and it probably really affected you. Like maybe you kind of received some message when young that your way of thinking or your way of speaking was not the right way, and it creates a massive challenge to overcome throughout life. So yeah, like the challenges in the mind and with communication, right? Because Saturn is restricting and inhibiting like that basic part of life, right? So sometimes, with Saturn square Mercury, there can be like lying, verbal abuse, theft, but also like the higher energy squares, they're meant to be overcome and become superpowers. Mercury and Saturn is very good for intelligence, right? It can be very studious, give a very profound mind. Someone who's interested in like occult subjects or serious subjects like science, but really Saturn rules the memory, Mercury rules the mind. So when there's any kind of connection between the two, it can be a superpower. But what can happen is that there can be narrow-mindedness and paying too much attention to like these minute details. So it has to be replaced by like a larger view of the world, which is like your ninth house moon, right? Also, this is a big one for shyness. So like stepping out of that is very important. And yeah, there can also be negative thinking. I mean, that's the Capricorn, Mercury, Capricorn can be prone to depression, right? So like sometimes there can be like too much pressure on you at once. Like maybe you have to like carry too much weight of some sort, right? But once again, the key, like this one is similar to the other one, where it's like the more you talk and share about your dark thoughts, the lighter everything becomes. So like the more that you like put yourself out there, you know, the better it is for you. So yeah. And it can create someone who gives off like a insecure and fearful energy. And yeah, it's all about replacing negative thoughts, you know, using mantras, like, you know, using mantras and affirmations. Like that's like the key. Like repeating positive phrases about yourself is very, like, it's literally the key to this one. So the Pluto one is different, and it basically speaks about kind of having like a very complex and deep nature to your mind, like you're thinking, like the way you think and communicate can be like very, very deeply influenced by like your shadow and you know, maybe different crises in your like life. Maybe it was like early family experiences where you, or just early experiences where you saw the darker side of humanity. So then this can lead to like very strong opinions that can make you subject to like criticism about different things. And overall, like it just creates like really intense, often like you know, very like challenging mentally and psychologically, like communications, debates, like very fiery, that can even like end up in like fights and stuff. This is, you know, more when young, and when older, like, you know, Mercury and Pluto can create a probing mind that wants to just like go deep into everything and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and research and research and research and research. But yeah, there can be like a very defensive attitude, and yeah, it can kind of like attract, you know, like very like strongly opinionated people who will challenge your ideas. So imagine like you have this like really, really deep passion for like astrology or something, or like some theory. You might come out with like a very like intense, like this is it, like an energy that attracts other people to you, that then engage in the debate. And because like, so the key here is that you might identify too much, like you might, how do I say this, like you might identify like your sense of self with your ideas and your opinions, which then makes you like willing to go to battle to defend them, like really go to the end of the world to defend them, right? And of course, it's like very, very good aspect for street smarts and deep intellect, right? It's not saying that. It's just that, you know, at the start of life, it can be difficult, but over time, it makes you like really want to go deep into research and experience a lot and master your arguments, right? But yeah, how basically, like, you know, communications can lead to conflict, essentially, right? So if you the issue here, it's kind of like learning to be more Libra in your communication, like learning to be more diplomatic, right? If you use like kind of like threatening, underhand tactics, like that can like make things way worse. But the more like you learn to be like kind of diplomatic and tactful, it will be way less mental stress. Because you know how like when you get like in an argument, like or something like that, like where you're like you completely lose your shit, and you know maybe that Capricorn Black Moon love comes out. How you feel after, that's like it can be shame, guilt, whatever. Like bad stuff can come out. It can ruin your day, you know, especially as a Pisces moon, right? I imagine that this like had like an extreme effect on you because you're so sensitive, but because you're Capricorn, that sensitivity is so hidden, right? So yeah, there can be lots of mental stress. And yeah, it's likely that like, you know, your ideas and opinions about everything go through major transformations through your own interactions, experiences, and research. So this is really like everything can be turned into a positive, every square, every opposition. Okay, we're getting really deep here. And then, you know, your Mercury is with Chiron too. So that's like giving you like a real ability to, you know, to really heal through your, you know, your way of communicating and speaking and the things that you learn. You're very, very capable learner. You're kind of a powerhouse and an intellectual powerhouse, I would say. But there's definitely some hurdles that you have to jump through, especially when it comes to the self-esteem with the moon square Neptune, which is like your most important aspect. Okay, moving forward. So, okay, you also have Venus square Mars. It's like, or Venus square Jupiter, which is like a strong aspect, the only good square in astrology, or not the only good, probably maybe the only good square in astrology. So yeah, good for popularity. And you also have Jupiter. It's like the same chart. It's like such a similar chart to the one I just did. You know, 10th house and 7th house are where your two benefics are. So those two houses are very positive, the house of career and the house of partnership. So you'll be someone who is very lucky, very fortunate when it comes to partnership. When it comes to health, you know, you definitely have to watch out for like overworking yourself, because there can be a link between your work ethic and maybe overworking and your actual physical health. So mental health and physical health. And yeah, like with the whole like Taurus Chiron thing, like just understanding that that link does exist, and that you should monitor your health, because you know there can be issues with it when you you know ignore it and are too much like mind over matter type stuff. You know, so okay, so moving on to like outer planets, we've covered a lot of them already. Just to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, so Jupiter in Scorpio, that's like, you know, if you saw my post, I know how long you've been following me about like, I forget the name. It was like indicators of psychic abilities. I had, you know, Jupiter and Scorpio in there. So I also had Pisces moon. So, you know, you have a lot of them. And I also probably had Neptune in the 8th house. That's like literally like 3 of them. And basically, you know, Scorpio, you know, is that very intense, like the sign that goes deeper, right? So when you're Jupiter and Scorpio, it adds more of this super intensity to your like your search for the truth, right? Being super intense. Basically it just gives you this like, you know, Jupiter makes everything bigger. So like Scorpio is mysticism, it's psychology, it's you know, the occult, the esoteric, seeing beneath, you know, the surface, death, rebirth, transformation. So So it allows you to really let go in lots of ways, or it pushes you to let go and to surrender parts of yourself. And the fact that it's in the house of relationships is going to give you lots of luck when it comes to romantic relationships, or has given you and continues to give you. And not only luck, it's like you learn a lot, like, because like with your love astrology, as I was saying before, like there's that the extra element with the Jupiter and the descendant in Scorpio is that there's these what's it called? There's two parts to it, right? There's a split, right? There's a split between the part that wants freedom, that wants the Sag Juno and the Venus and Aquarius, and then the part that wants the extreme emotional closeness, which is like the moon, and which is so important in synastry astrology, and Pisces, and the descendant 7th house ruled by Scorpio, right? Which is like, that kind of love is like soul binding, like two souls becoming one, like twin flame type love. So, but you might have to watch out because your descendant is loosely conjunct one of the more difficult asteroids that can kind of bring shady people. So let's see how far it is. It's called Serpentis. I guess it's like within 2 degrees, but still, you do need to still watch that. It's still in orb, and yeah, just make sure that you're not like attracting like the wrong kind of Scorpio type people, energy vampire type people, manipulators, power struggle people that appear all nicey and then they show their real self later. Let's see here. So yeah, your 6th house, I have these like the Saturn there too. I credit my ability to be super organized to my Saturn in the 6th house. So I assume that it's similar for you. It's a very strongly placed Saturn. It is in Libra, which is, not where mine's placed in, but it's it gives you the ability to like create these like long lasting relationships that are based on like responsibility and companionship, and also it creates very committed business partners. And then Saturn in the 6th house, like I said, like it creates a need for structured routine and daily work. Sometimes people who have this have like health problems early in life. I know I didn't. It's very beneficial to have like a routine, to have like a daily routine of some sort, maybe like as a Pisces moon, which is mutable, which is very go with the flow. You wouldn't want to have the same thing every day, like eating the same food, doing the same workout at the same time, like stuff like that. But something like kind of, set. And yeah, it's very good for like organizational abilities for sure. I see in Leo, that's what I've noticed, and I've always seen that people that have that tend to kind of be like the center of like attention in their families, and have like they tend to, and your part of fortune's conjunct it, so it's like they tend to have like a very, that would speak to like probably, I don't like saying like a good childhood, but like, like a family where you feel open, feel free, where maybe you're like the center of attention, and the one that people pay attention to, and the one that makes people laugh, something like that. But it could also talk to like the overall culture of your family being one that's just quite fun, quite gregarious, quite you know, Leo. And I definitely want to hear about that one, if that was accurate or not, because I'm learning more. I mean, not learning. I'm testing out more and more theories about the IC. So yeah. What else have I not covered? Besides Pluto. Yeah, okay. So I guess like the two in your eighth house, like Neptune and Uranus, like Uranus in the eighth house. Look, it gives a potential for what's it called? Not clear, like the one where you see the future. Is it clairvoyance? Like getting downloads, you know, about the future. It definitely creates like a fascination for metaphysics and like the deeper side of life. And you can also experience like sudden changes in life through joint ventures. And it's just like a fascination, metaphysics. And of course, Neptune, eighth house, I told you, that's like an amazing place to have Neptune. Feels great. It's the, the 12th house is its home, eighth house is its second home, it's vacation home. And it just gives you this ability to really feel at one with others and kind of transcend daily life. You're really in touch with your imagination, your dream world. Makes you more prone towards going towards metaphysical pursuits and studies, and really able to kind of channel, like, like I said, it squares your moon, but like when the square becomes like, usually it's like around like Saturn return, or even before that the squares can start, like the more work you do, the better squares can start to become like superpowers, right? And with moon in Pisces already, square Neptune, which by the way, super interesting. Actually, I just realized something. One second, let me put this into words. Yeah, so you actually at this very moment are having, this is why you should definitely consider getting a current astrology reading with me after we do our follow-up. That's a live reading. On Zoom, we talk about your lived experience mixed with what's going on astrologically. Is that you have, so Neptune, your whole life since 1982 has traveled. I'll share just to show you a little example of something. We're already at 132. I am sharing. So Neptune started here when you were born, and it traveled all the way right here. It's literally right, or I guess it's at like 25 now, but it's like literally right conjunct your moon. I just went through something similar but way more difficult, which was excuse me, Neptune square my moon, because my moon is 21 Sagittarius. Me and you have a square with each other's moons. And my sun is actually at 28 Pisces, and my Mercury is also at 28 Pisces. So we're both going to be experiencing some Neptune energy. But I think you've been experiencing it for a while. Not for that long. It's probably like really in the thick of it right now. But yeah. So aside from that, am I still sharing? Yeah. Part of fortune in Leo in the fourth house. What can we say about that? You feel a great joy and fulfillment when you're in touch with your inner self. That's like a big thing for you. Like really being in touch with the inner you, with the So and then with part of fortune in Leo, the greatest satisfaction and fulfillment is like through surpassing yourself and being like the center. So like being like personal mastery, inspiring, guiding other people. Like really just like being the star, you know? Being the star, being the star. And yeah, like being like a shining example of to others, like being a big example. And also just like, yeah, like when you succeed, when you achieve like power and honor. And it's important to avoid distractions. And also like, you know, detaching from worldly expectations is very important for you because you know, like as a Capricorn, that might be something that comes up, but you know, it's important to detach from those and to know that we're all unique. We all have different lessons, and we all have different specialties and skills and all that. Okay, I'm gonna open something up. Okay. So Uranus, a little bit more about Uranus in the 8th house. Yeah, powers that cannot be explained. It's usually, yeah, okay. So in terms of death, not that everyone wants to hear about that, but a lot of times Uranus there, it can like make it so like it eliminates the chance of having like a slow and painful, like lengthy process, basically. Inheritances, you know, there can be like an unexpected legacy, as I said before. Also, oh yeah, this is why I always gotta look at my notes because I forgot this part. So 8th house is also about like sexuality. So Uranus here, you will seek potentially freedom through sexuality. And people that have that placement, they don't necessarily have like taboos, and they a lot of times like engaging in breaking taboos with their partners or just in general. So there can be like a deep need for like sexual experimentation and stuff of that nature. And yeah, it can even be like tantra and like kind of like the spiritual kind of sex. So yeah, there's also like tons of occult abilities that comes with this, like strong intuition, like lightning strike. Like it's almost like imagine lightning strikes. Like when you're like able to like clear out the fog of your mind, there can be just these lightning strikes of intuition. And that can create moments of clairvoyance, but it's all about, you know, clearing the mind, meditation, like instantly download cosmic information. And yeah, like there can be like astral projection. People with this will like kind of like not only believe in reincarnation, but they'll like just like it's like such like a duh thing. And yeah. Like, you know, it's a rather good one because the 8th house is an open gate towards the infinite, and you know Uranus enjoys like having no borders and freedom. So yeah, it's a good placement. So yeah, and then Neptune, I mean, what else can I say? It's just like very, very, very psychic, and like I said, like sensing the emotional undercurrents, and you know, you have to watch out for for, let me open my notes about that one too, because there's some stuff that's interesting about that one too, that it's impossible to remember all of it. Yeah, so a strong receptor spiritual currents, which is of course a double-edged sword. I already went over that. Okay, yeah, it's also responsible for loans and debts. So it's really important not to take on like loans or like to get yourself in like credit card debt or something like that. Be careful of like sex and not sex, like sex in religious groups, cults, like that. Like you have to be careful of not like believing every strange theory you read. But of course you'll have the discernment with all the other aspects of your chart. So there can even be like it says, on the other hand, the spiritual vibration of Neptune might not even require carnal pleasures. The person with such placements might pass a lot of periods of celibacy or indulge in platonic relationships, letting aside the pleasures of the body. Finally, the submissive nature of Neptune may make the person a masochist, taking pleasure from being used. He or she is capable of giving unconditional love, which can sometimes lead to drama and disaster, making the person feel as a martyr of love. If Neptune is in the 8th house, be careful not to poison yourself. I once had a client who I told this, and she like actually nearly died by actually poisoning herself. Not through alcohol and drugs. Usually this is like referring to alcohol and drugs, which fall into that category. And death can come from substance abuse. As 8th house is all about secrets, the habits of the native might be hidden from the outer world, and then death will be initially a mystery to everyone. With this placement, try to armor yourself from outside influences. This is super important. I bolded this. Yes, your gates towards the outer realms are wide open, which is not usual for the rest of the world. No, you should not just let everyone and everything come inside. Learn to distinguish the friend from the predator, and you will be rather safe. Empower your Neptune with the help of more active planets in order to build good defenses for the otherwise blurry borders of Neptune. All right, so I think last thing I haven't talked about here, a long reading, geez. Wow, 142 again. Pluto and Vertex. So Vertex, let's talk about that really briefly. Your doorway to higher awareness is through service. In relationships, you're going to come off is very fair, very balanced, very like able to see kind of the beauty and the good parts of the partner, which is very good, and you're going to be want to have a very peaceful energy in relationships. So Pluto in the 6th house is basically like about this life, like a huge part of this life being about being of service, being a selfless service, and kind of like stepping out of like the I and moving more towards like the we as like as a kind of like a viewpoint. And I haven't said so much about your north node and south node. So that's kind of like what it is with the Pluto is like when you can like also like your health and like your physical health is linked to your spiritual health is linked. It's like it's all intertwined. So like your diet and your routine, all these things that kind of make like these have like a super special spiritual component to them that others won't have. Like your daily routine is super important in your life, right? And there can be traumatic changes to your health. And yeah, the challenge is to really recognize the power of the relationship between mind and body, which I've spoken about before. So yeah, Then like south node, north node, obviously this is like the parts of the chart, and we're gonna look at the stars after. I'm just laughing because I'm like, before this, I'm like, okay, no more than an hour and 20 minutes for your reading, Jesse. And yeah. So basically, south node conjunct Neptune or Mercury, which is square Saturn. You in this lifetime came in with a voice, with a message, but there's always this this pushback when you really try to get it out. So it's part of your karmic, push forward, like to move towards being more like garnering a deeper connection to the more feminine parts of yourself, like you're more like your deeper emotions, right? Like really like channeling, because you have that trine with your moon and the north node, like really like getting to the higher energy of Pisces moon. And it's really a quest to overcome inner pride also, because that's like a lot of the thing with south node, which is like the past life tendency in Capricorn, and to tolerate your own failures, to be okay, with the imperfections. And yeah, like there's definitely past lives is a south node in Capricorn with a Saturn, which is in the sixth house, where you were very, very much in the material world, where you probably, like really, really had to work hard for people's respect. And in this life, it's about learning to kind of express your emotions. Like, look at me in the funniest way. Like learning to like really express your emotions honestly, and yeah, like being able to like nurture others like with all this like past life wisdom, and have like a more nurturing, this Cancer third house, it's about also finding your voice, right? So that's another big karmic thing for you, is about, I think I mentioned the throat chakra. Well, it's getting past the fact that Mercury, which is opposite your north node, which means that like you know something related to communication, to thinking, to that the spheres of Mercury was or is, I guess it's basically like something you're bringing in from the past life, but also like it's a pain, because there's a square with Saturn and with Pluto, right? All the stuff I talked about, the 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 aspects between Mercury square Saturn, Mercury square Pluto. That's like very, very karmic, right? That's like coming from past lives. So it's played itself out. So I would go re-listen to those parts of the reading. It's played itself out in different ways in this life, but it's from past lives. And the way forward is basically, yeah, to really get down with understanding like the interactions, the everyday interactions between people, and getting good at like the kind of baseline level of communication. And yeah, just experimenting with like different ways of communication, whether it's like, learning, just being very open to learning lots of different things that interest you, and then combining them all, which your sun is in the ninth house, so having them all combine and help you shape your worldview, which is your worldview, like universal truth, what it means to you, and that that is extremely important to your entire chart. Just as the 11th house moon speaks to this importance of having a tribe, and of also like being very, very humanitarian and very, very ambitious in this type of way of having like very large long-term goals. So before I sign off, let's pop this open. Okay. So I'm looking for any just big fixed stars that I want to, they're connected to parts of your chart. 7, 21, 26. Nope. 6, 23. It's a Jupiter. Let's see if there's any on this. Nope. And then this thing. No. And 225. Okay. You got the Neptune in the galactic center, which is speaking even further to your advanced mysticism and spirituality and interest in the occult. 11 and 23 cap. Nope. 8. Nope. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So that's not gonna work. So the last, so yeah, so far, so 6. So your midheaven is my Mars. So anything with both. Okay, for your midheaven conjunct both, it said improved health, fame by help of superiors. Fortunately, the internet doesn't have that much on the fixed stars. I'm still learning slowly it's hard to find the right books. And a lot of them aren't that significant, but I like to kind of just talk about all the ones that I see. Okay, here's one to end, and that's your moon is conjunct Markab. It's actually like very, very close. So it's good for health. There can be some accidents. Let's read about Markab. Honors, riches, fortune, danger from fevers. So yeah, it can be violent and talk about like danger from cuts or stabs. It also can indicate riches and honor. So it has like a Mercury Mars nature. There's no conjunctions, so that's good. It said to influence above all the spiritual and mental nature, to give a good head for figures, intellectual alertness, mental powers in general, and the ability to further propaganda activity if at the same time relevant aspects are also present, which they're not. Yeah, so I guess Markab and Scat are both Mars, Mercury. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much yeah, it's not really giving me too much more information about Markab. Let's see if I can find something. Astrology. Okay, here's something. Then Pegasus. So yeah, it's a word for a saddle, ship, vehicle, anything ridden upon. So it's like when you see the horse, the Pegasus horse, the shape of the constellation, it's at the beginning of the wing, kind of like where the wing starts with the body. It's like a flying horse, by the way. Okay. So yeah, like, it keeps talking about dangers from cuts, stabs, fire. Cuts and stabs can be operation nowadays. Of course, it's only just a freaking, fixed star. So ambition, vanity, intuition, enthusiasm, caprice, and bad judgment. Yeah, so that's from Ptolemy. So I think I knew a lot. All right, this is a super long reading. 2 hours. Wow, I might as well do one more minute. How are my eyes looking? Allergies are still destroying me. It's always this time of the year. Maybe this Christmas. But anyways, yeah, so you got the follow-up, so we will be in touch. Just message me. Most people probably have to watch this a couple of times, take notes, get everything down. Your chart definitely had some complexity to it. So yeah, just let me know when you're ready to schedule that, and we can go from there. And yeah, thank you, thank you. And I will talk to you later. All right, bye bye, ciao ciao.